Good afternoon again, and I'm Xu Xinchen from China Global Television Network, and we're definitely going to discuss more about building up education capabilities at larger scale and make it fast. And joining me here, we have Dr. Ahmad Al-Zahrani, the Skills and Training Deputy from the Ministry of Human Resources and National Development here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And we also have the Damani Tawani, the CEO of National Skill Development Cooperation, flew all the way from India. I flew in from China, I flew in from India, definitely hours in the flight, but just to be here for the first ever Global Labor Market Conference so that we can really discuss about the challenges that today's global market faces. But speaking of education, even though a lot of people are worrying technological advancement might replace some of the jobs, but it will create new jobs. And in a more complex world, we just have to keep learning. It's a lifelong process. We need to get the skills to be flexible that we can move around between jobs. So let's maybe start first from Dr. Al-Zahrani. What's your take on this? So what are some of the skills that are really in demand here in Saudi Arabia, and what are some of the ways for mass education so that people can obtain these skills?
Well, assalamu alaikum first. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Going back to the question, I think when we mention the skills, there are different viewpoints or different understanding what is a skilling meant.
Yes.
So in the ministry, we started by developing a unified framework how to look into skills.
Yes.
We come up with 4 functions, very important functions: skills planning, skill development, the training itself, skill recognition, and skills utilization into the labor market. Then we asked ourselves how to create an ecosystem for all the initiatives so we are more responsive to the changes in the labor market. We heard a lot today and yesterday about the AI and the change in the labor market, but the more important question is how to respond to those changes. So we made sure to create a system that is responsive to any changes, whether it's AI, whether it's a pandemic, or any other, let's say, changes, technological or economical into the labor market, how to respond in terms of skilling. One of the things that is very important, we launched an initiative called Skill Accelerator.
Mm-hmm.
Skill Accelerator is aiming to upskill and reskill 322,000 employees in the private sectors with different priority sectors, skills, and occupations. But it's more important, in my opinion, it's not the training itself. It's the journey that you create for individuals. If I'm an individual and I'm taking this training course or skills, what does it mean for me? What's the return on investment? So we created a series of learning pathways and career pathways. So the individual, the company, they know when they take that training, this is what it leads to.
Yeah.
So we link it to performance and productivity. Also to encourage, because this is what we're doing as a government, to encourage the private sector, we launched a campaign. It's called National Training Pledge, where different companies pledge training by themselves, and we got more than 1 million training opportunities. We track that with our partners in the private sector.
Speaking on that, actually, technology is definitely helping to improve labor efficiency and whatnot, but again, it's also come back to for training programs to identify the skills or what's needed first, and then maybe offer some suggestions where artificial intelligence can be used for corporate learning or whatnot. But then if we go to India, one of the most populated countries in the world, a huge base for sourcing some of the best talents. So, Mr. Tiwari, so what's your take on this? And any experience that I can share from India?
So good evening and thank you for having me here. In India, our Prime Minister launched a Skill India program in 2015. The effort was that in the workforce, a lot of people acquire skills through a non-formal and informal way. And how do we give recognition to those skills? And also help them, as Dr. Al-Zahrani was telling, that how to help them find pathways so that they can progress in their life. So Skill India Mission was launched. We made a strong process where we worked with industry to find what the skill gaps that they see. And we also worked with the participants in the workforce and came out with the national occupation standards. And through these national occupation standards, qualification packs were made. And we put a very strong digital platform so that the process standardization happens. And under this program, I'm happy to inform you that within 5 years, India could do skilling for about 50 million people. And I would also like to say one thing here, that until that mission was launched, everybody was seeing this from an angle of vocational education. But post-COVID, we all realized that the workplaces have changed dramatically. And the workplaces of future are also not going to be the same as they are today. So the realization happened that everybody needs skilled. Even at the level of the Prime Minister or the Minister's level, the upskilling programs have been taken to skill them into digital skills. And we have changed our education system also. In India now, education is credit-based. And for higher education, you need to have only 60% of your credit coming from your academic courses. 40% of your credits can come from skill-based programs. So earlier we were focusing only on those who are participating in the workforce. Now we have taken it to the education system. And our national education policy also is talking about that every student should be connected with a skill. And so from class 6 onwards, the vocational education has become an integral part of the education system. So this way, a lifelong learning concept has been introduced in the country. And the digital public infrastructure that India has built is helping the whole country a lot. I'll just take 30 seconds more to tell you that all of us have talked about foundational literacy and numeracy. We have seen tremendous results with the digital payment system in India. Now, what we are realizing is that everybody needs to be digitally skilled. You should know how to share your location, how to make a digital payment, how do you become part of social commerce. So we have launched a nationwide program in digitally skilling everybody, so that because our economy itself is getting digitized. And every participant into this economy has to be digitally skilled. So digital skills, employability skills, entrepreneurship skills, and the financial skills. These are becoming like a national movement that every Indian should have these fundamental skills. So we are just like fundamental literacy and numeracy, we are calling them as a fundamental skills to take the country forward.
But again, come back to the labor market, where just, according to the World Bank, so current global labor market are facing two most challenging tasks. So first is aging population, and then is the education gap. And speaking of India and even China, world manufacturing hub, we're outsourcing all those talented people, but still the aging population is happening, and the education gap needs to be solved, as you have mentioned, through digital platforms. I'm just curious, from distance learning, or you have showed the application that the Indians can now use to get certified or to learn skills, maybe spend 5 or 10 minutes on the app, but how much can actually people truly learn from that? Because just 5 to 10 minutes a day, how can I make sure that I know it? It's just not,
So I think it's a ultimately incentive question, that human beings respond to incentives. And what happens is that we have seen with social media, that social media creates its own incentives when people interact with each other. The idea is that everybody should have access to skills. So the digital platforms or applications that we build, they not only help you learn online, but every single classroom where skills is provided, so offline, is also on the app itself. So it's a familiarization thing, that you familiarize yourself with something, and if you want to go deeper, if you want to do it on your own, you can join a skill course. We also have started, because India is a large country and we want to reach to the farthest corner of the country because this whole topic is about how to skill at speed and scale. We have also started a skill on wheel concept. So there are lots of buses have been deployed. They have been equipped with the digital equipment and AR, VR equipment, and also a real equipment. So they reach out to the farthest villages and expose people to these skills. So in last 1 year itself, we have reached out to close to about 250,000 people through this skill on wheels itself. Yes. And it's getting very popular, and because the whole idea is that you take it to the doorstep of the people. So take the skills to the people, and the peer pressure or the social movement, treat it as a social movement. And that's why our Prime Minister called it a mission, Skill India mission, yes, so that we can become skill capital of the world.
There's definitely, I mean, for me, I do see the importance of lifelong learning and to be self-motivated. And even through applications or actually in-person classes. But again, if we come back to Saudi Arabia, the demographics here is quite different from India or China. It's still pretty, a very young, strong labor force. If I remember correctly, 60% of the population is still under the age of 30 or 35, if I remember the number correctly. So Dr. El-Zahrani, you mentioned that right now, soft skills are also very important in this country. So through international collaborations, you just signed deals with Mr. Tiwari here. So what's your take on this? How can international collaborations or globalization somewhat play into a part in this to help training skilled workers in larger scale, mass education?
Well, my point to this, before you go international, you need to create your own system that speak with, let's say, other systems. Mm-hmm. So what we try to do here in the country, there are so many upskilling programs, and like many other countries, mainly it's supply-driven kind of programs, and we're moving toward more demand-driven kind of programs, where we set up sector skill councils, we build the occupational standards, we develop the skill framework. So it's very easy now for everybody to do their upskilling programs according to this system. You don't need to lead everything. The upskilling, reskilling could come from the individual incentives or firm incentives. Now, how this would collaborate with the international, let's say, sphere? First of all, there is an area of what they call skill harmonization. Mm-hmm. So you could have your own skill system that doesn't speak to other skill systems. And this is what we discussed also in the G20 in India presidency. Mm-hmm. Skill harmonization and taxonomy, because it's an issue. What we did here in Saudi, we created two programs. We think they are very important. One is called Skill Verification Program. The other one is Qualification Verification Program. So both, they target expats, but at different skill level, whether it's a degree required or skill verification required. We signed an agreement today with NSTC, similar to these activities, and to draw also on their experience in operating 37 councils, mm-hmm, sector skill councils, and digitization of skills. So there is an element of harmonization between us now that is happening as we speak.
So actually from policy makings or international relations, some would also play a part into this and even offer training for expats. But then again, according to Mr. Tiwari, earlier you mentioned the number from your organization has certified 50 million Indians, with skills, and a lot of them can also find jobs overseas but again, for different countries or different cultures, how to make sure that the same skill set can actually apply to different countries?
So as Dr. El-Zahrani was talking about that under G20 presidency of India, we had this track of skill taxonomy and overseas mobility for workers. So what we know that it's difficult for harmonization is a difficult process and will not happen overnight. So what we do is that we do a benchmarking, that we have our own occupation standards, mm-hmm, and as if we work with, say, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we take their qualification packs and try to do a benchmark, and then we find if there is a gap, then we do a bridge course. So we do a bridge courses for our candidates so that they are ready for the workplace where they are going to. But more than the technical skills, what I believe is that soft skills are extremely important. There has to be, if the labor market has to work effectively, the sending countries will have to become very sensitive to the cultural and local norms of the destination countries. And that training and cultural training is extremely important. To keeping this in mind, India is setting up now 30 Skill India International Centers. They are like the government of India centers, where the focus is not on technical skills. Focus is on how do you train them into the language of the country where you are going, what are the social norms. So socio-emotional skills become extremely important, because ultimately it's the world is looking for more of a care jobs than the technical jobs. And that is where I think that we feel that there's a lot of work to do, and we are working in this area.
Earlier we mentioned like what makes humans different from machines is just love and care, and definitely software. But put soft skills aside, for all those technical skills, do you think there will be sufficient or successful mass education programs that can make us humans competitive enough, or even more competitive to machines, artificial intelligence or whatnot?
We are doing a lot of work on India, and we have developed a AI education framework. We are calling three verticals of AI learning. One is AI for all, the other is AI for many, and the third one is AI for few. So AI for all is that everybody will, it's like how to drive a car, everybody will have to learn how to use artificial intelligence. So that's a nationwide program. AI for many is for developers of the use cases of AI, and that will require every sector. And AI for few is typically a research kind of a thing. So we have built this framework. My belief is that we keep on hearing about how AI will take away jobs and things like that. This debate is not new. It has happened earlier also. Earlier machines took muscle jobs, then they took cognitive jobs. They will probably take cognitive jobs from us. Human beings have huge spirit and willpower. Ultimately, we will command the machine and will do better than, we will know how to use them and put them to the best use, and we'll become more productive and more, it will give us more time to connect with each other. So we will probably move from cognitive jobs to hard jobs, which is, the love jobs are so much missing in the world. This is a great time that we can focus on building human-to-human relationships, giving the muscle and cognitive jobs to machines.
May I add?
Yes.
Yeah. I think one of the, let's say, positive approaches that you need to look into labor market, you always hear about reports that millions of jobs will be displaced and these kind of numbers. I think it's important for us as a policymaker not to look into the jobs, to look into the task level of the job. If you want to understand the real change and the impact into the labor market, you need to take down the jobs into tasks and see which task will be, let's say, automated or at risk of change. Because when you go to that level, you would understand what skill needed for you to do the other tasks. So maybe it's going to be problem solving, maybe it's going to be non-cognitive skills like, working in teams, or maybe adaptation, or let's say working in different environments. That kind of skills, you only reach it when you analyze the task level. This is what we try to do in the occupational standards. But going back to make it short to your questions, definitely, so what they call soft skills, non-technical skills, is becoming more important in all jobs across sectors.
But then again, so India and China definitely have a really competitive job market. But again, so what's your take on like how to really motivate people or younger generations to really, I need that. I need to learn that so that I can stay competitive?
Well, one of the things, there is a new concept now, which is, let's say, there is a revolution in this concept, is that you don't do a job to learn something. While you do your work in the job, there is a concept called learning environment. So your job should be structured in a way that you gain more, let's say, skills and experience. If you repeat the same job and you don't gain any skills, that's not learning environment. So that is one. The learning environment should be for the student, should be for example, the internship, and should be for the current employees. That's very important when you combine education and work to create an experience of learning for the individuals.
Definitely. So as we have been talking about, education is very important in today's world to make individuals competitive so that we can have a job, we can make enough money to keep ourselves fat. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We ran out of time, and great discussion. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah.